uphold the Constitution, but also every member of the cabinet and the administration serves at the pleasure of the president.
Would the president prefer the attorney general resign?
I believe I've answered that question.
It's a little bit of a slightly different nuance, so that's all I'm asking. You said he has confidence in him. Does that mean he does not want him to resign?
I think you know this president well enough to know that if he wanted somebody to take an action, he would make that quite clear.
But clearly there's a difference of opinion here, because the president thinks what the attorney general did was improper, yet the attorney general, in accusing himself last spring, believes that he was taking the appropriate action given the potential conflict of interest in him leading the Russia investigation. So how do you explain that split?
As I said, the president's disappointed in the decision, and I think he's spoken about his feelings on this quite clearly. Matthew?
Thanks, Sarah. Question about health care. The president's repeatedly said that 21-year-olds can pay $12 a year for health insurance under the Republican plan. He said it again yesterday to the New York Times. What does he mean by that? Is the White House aware of a health insurance plan that charges only $12 per year? And if not, why does the president keep making that claim?
I'll have to check on the specifics.
Can you get back to me on that? Because
sure.
the CBO estimates that it would be about $1,100 a year, even to the lowest income 21-year-olds.
Okay, I'll check on that.
The president said that if Robert Mueller were to look at his finances or the family finances, it would constitute a red line. How is that not a threat to the special counsel?
I think that the president, the point he's trying to make is that the clear purpose of the Russia investigation is to review Russia's meddling in the election, and that should be the focus of the investigation, nothing beyond that.
That should not be viewed as a threat, as a warning to what the special counsel should or should not be looking at as it relates to the president's and his family's finances?
The president's making clear that the special counsel should not move outside of the scope of the investigation.
Sarah, let me try to come at this one different way. Why does the president...
I had a feeling we might do this for a little while.
Well, why does the president have confidence in his attorney general? Maybe you can explain it that way.
I believe that the Attorney General has made significant progress in terms of things like with MS-13. They've taken great action on that front, certainly on the front of immigration. He spoke today about some of the cybersecurity measures that they're taking, and I think those are great examples of successes that they've had at the Department of Justice.
It was reported last month that there was this rift between the president and the attorney general, and that the attorney general had offered his resignation. Did that happen? How did that process play out? And why did the president at that time decide not to accept the resignation?
I'm not aware of that taking place, so I can't speak to that.
One more question. From his sickbed, Senator McCain today issued a statement that questioned why 6 months into the administration there still is not an Afghanistan strategy. He said we're still waiting. Why is there still not an Afghanistan strategy, and when can we expect one?
I believe that the president has empowered Secretary Mattis to make decisions on that front, and I would refer you to the Department of Defense for those specific questions. Kristen.
Sarah, thanks. I want to go back to the president's comments about Robert Mueller. He was asked if Mr. Mueller does, in fact, look into his finances as part of his special counsel. Would he consider firing him? And the president said, I can't answer that question because I don't think it's going to happen. Does that mean that firing the special counsel is something that's on the table for this president?
I've answered this question several times before. Although the president has the authority to do so, he doesn't intend to do so.
And Sarah, the president's not concerned about this probe. Why does it matter? Why does he care if Robert Mueller looks into his finances?
I think it's clear that the president is frustrated by the continued witch hunt of the Russia investigation, and he'd love for this to come to a full conclusion so that everyone can focus fully on the thing that he was elected to do, and that's what he'd like to be focused on.
And just one more about Senator John McCain. The president, like so many others, sent out letters of prayers last night to the senator. Has he had any time to reflect on some of his past comments about Senator McCain? Does he regret saying he likes people who weren't captured?
I'm not sure about that. I do know that he certainly hopes that the senator makes a full and speedy recovery. I don't have anything beyond that.
Sarah. On It's been over a month since the president promised a press conference on discussing the administration's ISIS strategy. The Daily Beast had an article about this ISIS strategy document, and so can we expect this press conference to take place soon? And if the strategy is completed, then what's the delay in not having this so far?
We'll certainly make sure that there's an announcement if there's a press conference and that you are all invited. Roberta.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the president's meeting today at the Pentagon? What was discussed? What was sort of the main focus there?
Sure. Obviously, it's important for the president to have continued conversations and dialogue. The president met with key members of his cabinet, national security team, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, primarily to discuss challenges and opportunities. They discussed how to integrate U.S. actions around the world to promote American prosperity, enhance American security, and extend American influence.
So was it a certain part of the world or all parts of the world?
It was a broad discussion.
Did North Korea come up?
I'm not going to get into the specifics of detailed conversation.
A finer point on Mueller. The president said if he does investigate his or the family's finances, that's crossing a red line. There's a report today that Mueller is investigating a broad range of the family's financial transactions. If that report is true, then he has crossed the red line. Does that mean he fires him?
Again, as I said earlier, the president has no intention to do so at this
Even
time.
if he crosses the red line, so the red line doesn't mean anything.
That's not what I said. I don't believe everything I read in the paper. We'll have to see as we get more details on that.
But he said that. It's on audio. He said that's crossing a red line. That's not something you read in the paper. You can
I'm
listen
talking
to the
about
audio.
the investigation looking into the
But if
finances.
it's
The
true,
president's been
does he
clear
have to fire him?
many
Because he said
times
that's crossing
before
a
that he
red
has no financial dealings whatsoever with Russia. The point the president's making is that the investigation should stay within the confines of Russia meddling in the election and nothing beyond that. I'm not going to get into that.
How does the president expect loyalty from his aides, from members of his cabinet when he's constantly criticizing them and undercutting them and contradicting them in particularly media outlets that he constantly tries to discredit?
I don't believe that the president is undermining them. I think he was being very candid about feelings that he had, but as I said, he has confidence in his ability. April.
Sarah, how does the process play out when the president is very candid about what he thinks about his attorney general, about what he thinks about Mueller? How does this process play out?
I'm sorry, what?
The investigation, the whole process of relationships between Sessions and the president, the process of this investigation by Mueller. How does this play out with the president being very upset over the process and openly criticizing everyone and people in fear?
I think it's pretty clear how the process will turn out from our side is that this will be proven to be the witch hunt that it is and that nothing further will happen. Trey?
I have two more questions.
Two more.
Yes, two more. There's a belief that these conversations with the New York Times or whatever reporters are pieces of intimidation to go to Mueller, to go to Sessions. What do you say to that?
I think that's ridiculous.
And then
Third question.
And then lastly, Baltimore. Does the president regret what he said about Baltimore? He threw Rosenstein under the bus for the wrong city. He's not from Baltimore, he's from Philadelphia. And people in Baltimore saying there are a lot of Republicans there, even though the city is led by a Democratic mayor.
I think he was making a general statement. Trey?
But it was wrong. The statement was wrong.
He's spent a lot of time and has worked pretty extensively in Baltimore.
Has President Trump spoken with the Attorney General in the past 24 hours?
No, not that I'm aware of.
In a follow-up, does he regret appointing Jeff Sessions to be his Attorney General?
I don't believe so. I think if he did, then he probably wouldn't be in that position.
A quick one on Afghanistan policy. Following his meeting this morning at the Pentagon, is the President any closer to unveiling a policy towards Afghanistan? And should the American people expect that we will be sending more troops to the region?
As I said earlier, the President has empowered Secretary Mattis in that front, and I would direct you to the Department of Defense.
Can we just reconcile what you just said? You said the president does not regret appointing Jeff Sessions, yet he said in that interview with the New York Times that he does regret it because had he known what he was going to do before he appointed him, he would have said, sorry, Jeff, I'm going to get someone else.
I think,
I'm just wondering how you come to those two thoughts.
sorry, I may have misunderstood what Trey was asking. My understanding.
My question was, does the president regret appointing
I'm
Jeff
sorry,
Sessions?
I thought you asked if he regretted not taking action to remove Jeff Sessions.
So does he regret appointing Jeff Sessions?
The president's spoken very clearly on this in the interview yesterday. And as he said, he was disappointed that the Attorney General made the decision to recuse himself, and certainly that he didn't tell him that before taking the job.
But he also said, had he told him that, he wouldn't have appointed him. So does he regret now, in retrospect, appointing
I haven't
Jeff
asked him
Sessions?
specifically if he does that.
Thank you, Sarah.
I just don't know.
When asked about Mueller today, a couple of times you've used conditional language that he doesn't intend to, it's at this time. How can his independence be guaranteed if you're saying in the conditional tense that he's not going to try to have him removed?
Look, I mean, I can't predict everything that could possibly take place in the future and what Mueller could potentially do that might create outrageous, reason not to take action. So I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals. I can talk about where we are today, and that's the position of the president.
You've been asked multiple times today about the war in Afghanistan. Both times you referred us to the Defense Department, but President Trump is still the commander-in-chief. Does he take full responsibility for whatever happens on the conflict in Afghanistan?
I would think so, but again, he has empowered Secretary Mattis in terms, I've been asked specifically about troop levels and decisions on specific instances, and in that regard, I would refer you to the Department of Defense. John?
Thank you, Sarah. You spoke earlier apparently about confidence in General Sessions staying there. Does the president have the same confidence and lack of regret in naming Ron Brownstein Deputy Attorney General? Mr. Brownstein,
Rosenstein. I don't know who that guy is, but so I'm not going to speak about him. But Rod Rosenstein, as I stated, if the president didn't have confidence, he wouldn't be in that position. Guys, I hate to cut us short today, but the president has. Hold on, I'm not finished. The president has an announcement that he'll be making here shortly, and
Here at the podium?
no. Here at the White House, and so I'm going to cut it short today. Thanks, guys.
What's he doing with his paycheck,
Is he
Sarah?
watching the OJ parole hearing? He watches TV.